Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to break down complex source material into the knowledge you need, minus the usual headache.
And today's deep dive is really something else. Our source is actually a mystery novel.
Right, but it's also a philosophy course,
Hmm.
delivered through letters.
Exactly, like an intellectual Trojan horse.
Yeah.
It's all woven into this story about a girl, Sophie Amundsen. She starts getting these anonymous lessons designed to make her question, well, everything.
So the mission for us, and for you listening, is to pull out that core knowledge. The kind that really, shakes up how you see things day to day.
It kicks off with these huge, almost childlike questions. Who are you? And where does the world come from?
Yeah, the source makes a great point there, that philosophers, like little kids, have this sense of astonishment about the world.
Which most adults lose, right? We just accept the rabbit coming out of the hat. We stop wondering.
Exactly. Philosophy starts right there, with that wonder, refusing to just accept things.
But with Sophie, there's this immediate twist, this meta layer. She gets a postcard, right?
Addressed to Hilda Mollernag, care of Sophie Amundsen, from Zad, who turns out to be a UN major in Lebanon.
And he says this whole course, these letters, it's all a birthday gift for Hild.
So, boom, right away you're thinking, is Sophie the student? Or is she part of the lesson for Hild?
It forces that big question, what if the reality you're watching or living is just someone else's idea, a layer in their mind?
Okay, that's a heavy thought to start with, and it runs through the whole thing.
It does. But to really feel why that puzzle gets so weird later on, we kind of have to take the journey Sophie takes, starting way back.
Right, back to that first massive shift in thinking, moving away from myths.
Before philosophy took hold, myths explained everything. It gave people a handle on things.
Like the Nordic myths you mentioned. Thor's hammer makes thunder and rain. He's a fertility god. Simple cause and effect, sort of.
Yeah, it gave a human-scale reason for these huge natural forces, comforting in a way.
But the first philosophers, the pre-Socratics,
Yeah.
they weren't buying it. They wanted something more fundamental.
They were searching for a basic substance, something eternal, unchanging, underneath all the transformations we see in nature. They wanted the recipe, the single ingredient.
And that search immediately created this huge clash, didn't it? This paradox of change.
Oh, absolutely. You had Heraclitus on one side arguing everything flows, constant change.
You can't step in the same river twice.
Yeah,
Because the river's changed, and so have you.
exactly. Change is the only constant for him. But then you get Parmenides.
Total opposite. Pure reason. He argued that change is logically impossible, so nothing really changes, it just looks like it does.
Right. Our senses deceive us. Reason tells him reality must be stable, permanent. If something is, it can't not be. So change, becoming something else, is impossible.
That's a real head-scratcher. You've got experience saying one thing, reason saying the opposite. How do they get past that?
Well, Empedocles came along and basically said, guys, you're both kind of right, but you're stuck because you're looking for one thing.
So he ditched the single substance idea.
Yes. He proposed 4 fundamental roots: earth, air, fire, and water. These are eternal. They don't change in themselves.
But they combine and separate. And that's what makes things appear to change.
Precisely. Things come together, things fall apart. Love pulls them together, strife pushes them apart. But the roots themselves, everlasting.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. It bridges the gap. But then Anaxagoras threw another wrench in the works with his seeds.
He did. He looked around and thought, well, everything must contain a bit of everything else. Like, my hair comes from the food I eat, so the food must have some hair potential in it.
So these tiny particles, these seeds, contain bits of everything.
Yeah, something of everything and everything. But then if it's all just mixed up, what makes things organized? What forms a tree or a person?
Good question.
He needed an ordering principle. He called it nous, mind or intelligence. Some kind of force that arranges these seeds.
Mind is the organizing force of the universe. That's pretty radical for back then. Then we got into trouble, right?
Big trouble. He was exiled from Athens. Why? For saying the sun wasn't a god, it was just a red-hot stone. Bigger than the Peloponnese, maybe, but still just a stone.
Wow, so philosophy wasn't just an academic game, it was actually dangerous. It challenged the whole structure of belief.
Definitely. Which brings us nicely to Athens and the big names who shifted focus completely, like Socrates.
Right. Cicero said Socrates called philosophy down from the sky, made it about us, about humans, ethics, how to live.
Exactly. Socrates wasn't fussed about what stars were made of. He hung out in the marketplace asking people, What is justice? What is courage? How should we live?
And he famously didn't write anything down.
Uh,
We only know him through others, like Plato.
and his method, the
Yeah.
Socratic method, wasn't about giving answers. It was about asking questions, poking holes in arguments.
Showing people that maybe they didn't know as much as they thought they did. Intellectual humility, almost weaponized.
Leading to that famous line, wisest is she who knows she does not know. Realizing your own ignorance is step one.
The source draws a parallel between him and Jesus. It's quite striking.
It is. Both kind of enigmatic figures, no written works themselves, relied on disciples, spoke with authority, challenged the powers that be.
And both were ultimately executed for it, for basically making people uncomfortable with their own assumptions.
And Socrates' most famous student, Plato, took that Socratic questioning and built this incredible philosophical system on top of it, the theory of forms.
Right. Plato looked for the eternal and immutable too, but not in physical stuff like water or air. He looked for it in ideas, abstract concepts.
He thought the world we see with our senses is just a shadow. It's unreliable, always changing. The beautiful flower wilts, right?
But the idea of beauty itself, that doesn't wilt, that's eternal.
Exactly. The source uses that great analogy, the gingerbread mold.
Ah, yes. The baker makes hundreds of gingerbread men. Some are burnt, some broken. None are perfect copies. They're like the things we see and touch.
But the mold they all came from, that's the perfect eternal form or idea of the gingerbread man. That's what's truly real.
So true knowledge isn't about observing those imperfect cookies. It's about grasping the mold, the perfect idea, using our reason. Like knowing 2 + 2 = 4. That's eternally true, regardless of any physical example.
Precisely. This creates that famous Platonic dualism. There's the messy, changing sensory world down here.
And then there's the perfect eternal world of forms or ideas up there, accessible only through reason.
And this idea had a massive impact, didn't it, on Western thought, on religion, this split between body and soul, material and spiritual.
He really hammers this home with the myth of the cave. It's such a powerful image.
It really is. He asks you to imagine prisoners chained in a cave, facing a wall. All they ever see are shadows cast by puppets behind them, lit by a fire.
And they think those shadows are reality. That's all they know.
Until one prisoner escapes, goes outside, sees the real world, the sun, the true forms, with the sun representing the ultimate form, the idea of the good.
But when he goes back to tell the others, they don't believe him. We might even kill him for shattering their reality.
And think about how that ties back to Sophie and Hild. If Sophie's world is just shadows projected by Major Nag's mind, she's literally in the cave.
Whoa. Yeah. The philosophical lesson becomes her actual situation.
Plato even took this rationalism into politics. He designed an ideal state.
Ruled by a philosopher kings, right? The ones who've seen the sun, who understand the form.
Exactly. Reason governs. Then you have the auxiliaries, the soldiers, representing will or courage, and the workers, representing appetite, providing for the city, each part doing its job, guided by virtue.
And wasn't he pretty progressive for his time about who could rule?
Remarkably so. He argued women could be rulers too if they got the same education. It was all about rational capacity and not gender.
Okay, so that's Plato. But then comes his most famous student, Aristotle, who basically says, hold on a minute.
Lass. Yeah, Aristotle's like, where are these perfect forms? I don't see them floating around. He brings philosophy right back down to earth.
He trusted the senses more, didn't he? Believed knowledge starts with observation of this world.
Totally. No innate ideas for Aristotle. The forms, or universals, aren't in some other realm. They're in the things themselves. The form of a horse is what makes it a horse, and we grasp that by observing actual horses.
He was the great classifier, the systemizer, focused on change, but differently than Plato. Talked about potentiality and actuality.
Right. An acorn has the potential to become an oak tree. That potential is inherent in its form. It can't become a pine tree. Change is the process of realizing that potential, becoming actual.
It feels much more biological, grounded in nature.
Very much so. And his way of explaining why things happen is captured in his 4 causes. We need to unpack that a bit.
Okay, let's use the example from the source, rain. What are the 4 causes of rain, according to Aristotle?
Okay, first, the material cause. What's it made of? Well, moisture, water vapor, and the clouds.
Got it. Material.
Second, the efficient cause. What actually makes it happen? The agent. That's the cooling of the vapor, gravity pulling it down. The trigger, basically.
The immediate trigger.
Third, the formal cause. What is its essential nature or form? It's the nature of water, under certain conditions, to behave this way, to fall as rain. Its definition.
It's rainness.
Sort of, yeah. And fourth, the really interesting one, the final cause. What's its purpose? Why does it rain?
And for Aristotle, it rains so that plants can grow, animals can drink.
Yeah.
It has a purpose.
Exactly. Teleology. Everything in nature has a purpose, an end goal. Modern science mostly dropped that final cause for things like rain, right? We stick to material, efficient, maybe formal causes.
Yeah, we don't say rain has a goal. It's just physics and chemistry. That's a huge difference.
It is. It shows how Aristotle saw the universe as this deeply interconnected, purposeful system, and he spent so much time categorizing it all.
Animal, vegetable, mineral, breaking things down by their characteristics, how they function. Logic was his tool.
He basically invented formal logic.
Yeah,
And he noted that humans are unique because we can categorize nature. We have reason that allows us to see these patterns.
Okay, so we've gone from myths to substances to ideas and back to observing nature's systems now. Let's loop back to Sophie, because all this philosophy isn't just abstract for her.
Not at all. It starts getting really weird. The philosophy lessons are one thing, but then reality itself starts to glitch.
Like finding Hilde Moller-Nag's actual ID card, or seeing a reflection in a mirror wink at her when she didn't wink.
Exactly. These things that just shouldn't happen according to normal sensory reality, it reinforces the philosophical doubt, is this world solid?
And then her teacher, Alberto Knox, starts dropping these massive hints, suggesting they aren't real.
He basically says, what if we're just shadows in the major soul, or images in his dream?
That's where the philosophy, like idealism, the idea that reality is fundamentally mental or consciousness-based, crashes right into their lives.
It suggests their entire existence, their thoughts, their world is being written or dreamed by Major Nag. He's the author of their reality. It's all just a birthday gift for his daughter.
Talk about lack of free will. You're literally a character in a book someone else is writing, if he stops writing.
Poof, you're gone. So what do you do if you realize you might be just a thought in someone else's head?
Well, what do?
They decide to rebel, to fight the author.
How can characters fight their author?
That's the crazy plan. They realize Hilde, the Major's daughter, is the reader in the real world. They try to somehow communicate through the story, to get Hilde to intervene, to mess with her dad, the Major, to break free from the script.
Wow. So the philosophical journey leads them to try and alter their own ontological status, to become real, in a sense.
It perfectly connects that whole history of thought we just traced, questioning reality, seeking freedom, understanding consciousness with their immediate, desperate situation.
From the pre-Socratics wanting to know the basic stuff of the universe.
All the way to ideas maybe echoed in things like the Big Bang Theory, this idea of unity expanding. It's all part of this quest, constantly questioning assumptions, even the assumption that you exist independently.
And the fact that Major Nag, the creator in this story, works for the UN as an observer, that feels significant.
It really does, because think about it. The whole project of philosophy, especially thinkers like Kant later on.
With his ideas about perpetual peace.
Right. Advocating for reason, ethics, and ultimately international structures like a league of nations like the UN to bring order and peace. The UN itself is kind of a massive philosophical project put into practice.
So, okay, here's the final thought to chew on, bringing it all together. The Major writes this philosophical journey, and he works for an organization born from philosophical ideals about creating a better world order.
So maybe the point isn't just understanding the world or even just escaping the cave or the script.
What if the real task, the ultimate philosophical act, is to use that understanding, that reason, to actively participate in writing the next layer of reality?
To try and make the story, even if it is a story you're inside, a more reasonable, more ethical one. Using philosophy not just to observe, but to create.
Even if you suspect you're just a character in someone else's grand narrative, your actions, your reason, still shape that narrative.
It means you have to engage. Observer and participant. Shadow or substance.
That's a powerful place to leave it. A lot to think about there. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.